outside of that target area. These areas to include Area Charlie, which is short of the target area.
Fire mission! Fire mission.
Number 2, 1 round.
Number 2, 1 round.
I'm glad that you asked that question, that China reacted. Why don't they look at their own offensive missile capabilities and remove it, destroy their nuclear weapons, and vacate Mischief Reef and get out of the West Philippine Sea?
In April 2023, the world watched as the United States quietly deployed its Typhon missile system to the Philippines for the first time. It was a historic moment. The system, capable of launching Tomahawk and SM-6 missiles, had never been stationed so close to China. Yet, just a year later, as the 40th iteration of the Balikatan joint exercises looms, one thing is conspicuously absent: any mention of the Typhon system. This omission has raised eyebrows among military analysts, who recall past conflicts where a single strategic weapon changed the course of history. From the arrival of US missiles in Europe during the Cold War to the deployment of HIMARS in Ukraine, modern warfare has often hinged on the presence, or absence, of key deterrent weapons. So why is the Typhon system missing from the narrative this time? And what does it mean for the Philippines' role in the ever-intensifying struggle for control over the Indo-Pacific? In 1991, as the last American troops left Subic Bay, many believed it marked the end of large-scale US-Philippines military cooperation. Fast forward to 2025, Balikatan, which means shoulder to shoulder in Filipino, has evolved into something far greater. Brigadier General Michael Logico, the Philippine lead for the drills, declared, "This will be the most robust Balikatan we've ever had." The numbers back him up. Over 17,000 troops are expected to participate, dwarfing the 2024 iteration. The United States, Australia, and Japan are confirmed participants, while ASEAN and European observers are watching closely, many for the first time. We are no longer just training for joint operations. We are preparing for real-world contingencies, Logico added, hinting at the growing security concerns in the region. The expansion of Balikatan signals that the Philippines is no longer just a host. It's becoming a pivotal player in the Indo-Pacific chessboard. In Balikatan 2024, the roar of missiles and the shockwaves of precision strikes sent a clear message. The Philippines is sharpening its teeth. The highlight? A decommissioned warship was reduced to scrap metal as Allied forces tested their joint firepower. This year, Balikatan 2025 is set to replicate these high-intensity sinking exercises, SINKEX, just 12 nautical miles from Philippine waters, pushing the boundaries of deterrence. However, one key difference lingers: the absence of the Typhon missile system, a weapon that was a showstopper in previous drills. With no confirmation of its inclusion, analysts are questioning whether the system's deployment was a one-time warning or part of a long-term strategy. Despite this, the exercises continue under the 1999 Visiting Forces Agreement, 5FA, ensuring that US-Philippines military cooperation remains ironclad. These drills are not just about testing weapons, but demonstrating our collective resolve, a senior defense official noted. As the region braces for rising tensions, the real question is, will the firepower on display be enough to deter future conflicts? In 1995, when China seized Mischief Reef from the Philippines, Manila had few options. With a weak military and no clear US commitment at the time, Beijing expanded its foothold in the South China Sea unchallenged. But 3 decades later, the Philippines is no longer sitting idle. Balikatan 2025 isn't just another military drill. It's a direct signal to China that times have changed. With tensions in the Taiwan Strait rising, and the US balancing its focus between Russia's aggression in Europe and its Indo-Pacific commitments. The significance of these war games cannot be overstated. The security of the South China Sea is tied to the stability of the Taiwan Strait, said a senior Philippine defense official, reinforcing the growing realization that Manila's fate is intertwined with Taipei's. However, concerns linger. Will the U.S. stay committed to the Indo-Pacific if war breaks out in Europe? Washington's recent military aid packages have tilted towards Ukraine, raising anxieties that the region could be sidelined.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about West
If
people?
you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
Yet, the sheer scale of Balikatan 2025 reaffirms that the U.S.-Philippines alliance remains strong. For the Philippines, the balancing act is delicate. While deepening security ties with the U.S. and allies like Japan and Australia, Manila must also navigate China's economic influence. We are not looking for conflict, but we will defend our sovereignty, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declared last year.
And therefore, the peace and stability of the South China Sea and the freedom of navigation of the South China Sea is a world issue. And that is what I am proposing. And I am saying that yes, it is a regional issue, but we must examine and be part of the discussion. We must include all parties in the discussion, because now it is not just ASEAN member states who are stakeholders.
With Chinese maritime incursions increasing, Balikatan 2025 isn't just about military drills. It's about proving that the Philippines is no longer a bystander in its own waters. In 1951, as the embers of World War II cooled, the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty, MDT, was signed, binding the two nations in a promise: an attack on one is an attack on both. 7 decades later, that promise is being tested like never before. With rising tensions in the South China Sea, the MDT is no longer just a legal agreement. It's the backbone of Manila's security strategy. But how far does that protection really go? President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has made his stance clear. If China halts its maritime incursions, the Typhon missile system could be removed.
I don't understand the comments on the Typhon missile system. We don't make any comments on their missile systems, and their missile systems are 1,000 times more powerful than what we have. Let's make a deal with China. Stop claiming our territory. Stop harassing our fishermen and let them have a living. Stop ramming our boats. Stop water cannoning our people. Stop firing lasers at us. And stop your aggressive and coercive behavior, and I'll return the Typhon missiles.
But critics warn that such concessions could embolden Beijing rather than ease tensions. The Mutual Defense Treaty is a deterrent, not a warfighting tool, explains regional security analyst Vincent Kyle Parada. Its true value lies in preventing conflict rather than engaging in one. Still, the presence, or absence, of Typhon carries weight beyond military strategy. For Manila, it serves as a litmus test of U.S. commitment. The return of Donald Trump's transactional foreign policy looms as a potential challenge. With Trump's history of questioning U.S. military commitments, some fear that Washington's backing could become conditional. The symbolic presence of Typhon matters, Parada argues. It's not just about firepower, it's about reassurance. As Balikatan 2025 unfolds, the message to China and the world is clear. The Philippines is not alone, but how strong that alliance truly is remains to be seen. When Dean Acheson, then U.S. Secretary of State, outlined America's post-World War II defense strategy in 1950, he famously excluded South Korea from the U.S. defense perimeter, a decision that arguably emboldened North Korea to launch its invasion. The Philippines, however, was always within that line.
Whatever risks we may be running by following the policies which our country has pursued thus far, the greatest risk of all is that we might once again hear the bitter refrain, too little and too late.
Today, as tensions mount in the Indo-Pacific, experts argue that the so-called Acheson line still holds. placing the Philippines at the heart of Washington's strategic calculus. Defense analyst Chris Gardner points to recent U.S. Senate hearings, where top military officials reaffirmed that the Philippines remains a key U.S. ally, its security tied to broader American interests. There is no scenario in which the Philippines falls outside U.S. defense commitments, Gardner notes. Unlike Taiwan, whose defense strategy remains ambiguous, Manila's position is clearer. It is a treaty ally, and the U.S. is bound to respond if it is attacked. The uncertainty, however, lies in Washington's shifting political landscape. With Donald Trump potentially returning to the White House, some in Manila worry about a more transactional approach to alliances. Yet, despite Trump's America First rhetoric, his administration maintained a strong Indo-Pacific focus, expanding military cooperation with the Philippines. Taiwan's future might be up for debate, but the Philippines is a different story, Gardner explains. Its location, its alliance status, and its role in countering China make it a permanent U.S. priority. The message from Washington seems clear. The Philippines isn't just an ally. It's a frontline state in America's Indo-Pacific strategy. In 2020, as European defense chiefs gathered to discuss an independent security framework, one that wouldn't rely solely on the United States, a question loomed. Could the Philippines do the same? With concerns growing over Washington's reliability, Manila is now rethinking its long-standing dependence on the U.S. for defense. Security expert Rahman warns that a second Trump presidency could lead to a more transactional approach to alliances, making the U.S. an unpredictable security partner. China thrives on uncertainty, Rahman argues. If the U.S. hesitates, Beijing will push its advantage in the South China Sea. To counter this risk, the Philippines is actively diversifying its defense partnerships. Japan and Australia, already key Balikatan participants, are being courted for deeper security ties. In 2023, Manila signed new defense agreements with Tokyo, allowing Japanese troops to train in the Philippines, a historic first. Meanwhile, Australia has ramped up joint exercises, signaling growing military cooperation beyond just the U.S. Manila is also exploring a regional security safety net through ASEAN, though challenges remain. While ASEAN prefers diplomatic engagement over military confrontation, some nations, like Vietnam and Indonesia, share concerns over China's assertiveness. The question is whether ASEAN can evolve into a credible defense coalition, akin to Europe's security efforts without full U.S. involvement. For now, the Philippines is walking a tightrope, strengthening U.S. ties while ensuring it has a plan B. The world will be watching. Is Manila still betting everything on Washington? Or is it finally building its own security future? Balikatan 2025 is shaping up to be the largest and most geopolitically significant iteration of the joint U.S.-Philippines military exercises. With expanded multinational participation, including Japan, Australia, and ASEAN observers, the drills underscore Manila's growing security network amid escalating tensions in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait. Yet, uncertainty lingers. The absence of the Typhon missile system, a crucial deterrent against China, raises questions about the Philippines' strategic messaging. Meanwhile, as the U.S. pivots between European and Indo-Pacific security priorities, concerns persist over Washington's long-term commitment, especially under a potential Trump presidency. For Manila, the path forward is clear. It must maximize its alliance with the U.S. while actively forging alternative security partnerships. Strengthening ties with Japan, Australia, and ASEAN will provide a much-needed safety net should U.S. engagement waver. The era of single-handed reliance on Washington is fading. Strategic autonomy is no longer a choice. It's a necessity. Thank you for tuning in to our channel. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of global issues.